All right, so the Golden State Warriors got off to a shaky start, especially on the road this season. They haven't been able to get much done, but at home, they've become juggernauts even without Steph Curry, to the surprise of everyone. And it all starts and ends with Klay Thompson. And I think more than just the stats, and he put up 54 points in this double OT game against the Hawks. I think more than just the stats, it's all about the mindset. Klay Thompson coming off these injuries, we saw him getting frustrated with Devin Booker. He's hearing the haters and he's hearing all the noise that he's not the same guy. I mean, I got to take the blame for it too. I went out on Twitter and I said that Klay Thompson was looking like the worst player in the NBA, and honestly, I wasn't lying. Klay Thompson, when he was shot jacking earlier in the year and he was hunting shots and he wasn't playing in the rhythm, he just looked like a selfish player within a system full of guys that's supposed to be playing unselfish basketball. I mean, Draymond's being unselfish, Jordan Poole, Steph Curry, everybody's cutting and moving around and swinging the ball, and you just had Klay Thompson shot jacking and shot hunting. It just wasn't working. And I think when the Warriors had that little meeting with Klay, specifically when Draymond and Steve Kerr started talking to Klay, and they showed him things in the film like, hey, in this situation, you could dump it off to Looney on the roll instead. You don't have to take everything every time you have the ball. Actually, if you pass the ball, it'll swing around and it'll come back to you, and it'll be even a better look. Just remember that you are that guy. You are a four-time champion. You are a guy who's been to the All-Star game, one of the greatest shooters in NBA history. One could argue the second best shooter in NBA history. And I mean, it's heat check Klay. When Klay gets into that mode where he's just hot, he can shoot, he can, score with the best of them. You can't stop Klay Thompson once he gets hot. I was at the game when Klay Thompson scored 60 points in 3 quarters, 60 points on 11 dribbles. I was at that game. So you can't stop Klay Thompson when he gets it going. He's caught his groove. He's in the right mind state. He's starting to let the game come to him. It's very important that you let your game come to you. You could apply that to life. In life, oftentimes when we try to force things, it doesn't really go our way. But when you settle down and you just allow things to flow, that's usually when you start to catch a rhythm, and usually when things you start getting that lucky bounce, or you start having that little pep in your step where things are just rolling. And right now for Klay Thompson and Golden State, 4 straight home wins. If they don't have the best record at home, it's them in Cleveland. If they're not 1, they're 2. And they've just been dominating teams even without Steph Curry. So it's very impressive. Klay Thompson, 54 points, coming off of 2 major injuries. Like, you just don't see that. And you got to be happy for the guy. So let's let this clip play. It's NBA Today talking about the Klay Thompson performance. They got a couple interviews from Steve Kerr and Klay Thompson where they're talking. I'll let the clip play.
My tank's on E, Bob. My tank is on E. Thank God for Kevon Looney, man. Oh my goodness. He's
obviously Kevon Looney, 20 rebounds in the game. Kevon Looney with the game-winning tip-in after just a play that went a little crazy. Kevon Looney saving the day. And Kevon Looney is really the unsung hero for the Golden State Warriors. I mean, this season he's averaging 7 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and you don't really think about that as too much. But the 3 assists at the top of the key, hitting the bounce passes on the backdoor cuts, giving the dribble handoffs where his screen and his body is freeing up the shooters to make big plays. Those 3 assists are valuable. Those 8 rebounds, some of them are coming off the offensive glass, and he's putting it back up like he did with that game-winning tip-in, and he's just all over the place. He can score down low when he's rolling to the basket. He gives this team a lot in limited minutes, and he's just there whenever this Warriors team needs him. Like, if the Warriors need him to play 20 minutes because they're trying to give Wiseman a chance or because they want to go small or whatever the case is, he can do that, but he's always available. He's played the most games in the NBA in a row now. Like, if he's not 1, he's 2. I think he leads the NBA. He's played, like, maybe 2 seasons straight now, almost 2 seasons straight full of games. So Kevon Looney, he's just a warrior. You know what you're going to get in. No pun intended, he's a warrior. You know what you're going to get with him night in and night out. And that's not even talking about what he does defensively. I mean, he stabilizes the paint for them. He gives them a big man who can switch out to perimeter guys, because even though he's a big, he's only really like 6'9", so he can hang around on the perimeter. He moves better than you actually think he does. He's just a smart guy. Like, man, Kevon Looney, he really does so much for this Warriors team, and it goes unnoticed. But if you watch Warrior games, and I think real Warrior fans, you see the guys on Warriors Twitter, I think everybody knows just how valuable Looney really is.
done so much in his career, so you don't go away from him just because he has a bad stretch. Everybody has bad stretches. So I just think, he stayed with it. He's worked hard, on his conditioning and his strength, and he stayed with it. Like I said, from an emotional level, he's just stayed much more calm and patient, and that's paying off for him.
Yeah, and big credit to Steve Kerr for staying patient with Klay Thompson as well and remembering who Klay Thompson is and what he can be when he's at his best and just keeping Klay Thompson level-headed. People think it's easy to be a head coach of a championship team or being around these type of players. You put a lot of different people, a lot of different top head coaches or what people perceive to be top head coaches on this Warrior team. They would have put Klay Thompson on the bench and started Jordan Poole. They would have limited Klay Thompson's minutes, cut his minutes back. They would have did different things, took shots away from him. Steve Kerr actually embraced Klay Thompson and said, hey, you just need to think about it a little differently. Let the game come to you. I'm still going to use you. I'm still going to give you opportunities. This is still, this is still your team. You're still the starting shooting guard. You're going to be our go-to guy. We need you long term. So shoot your way out of this cold streak. And yeah, big credit to Steve Kerr just for being a guy who, like I said, Kevon Looney stabilizes the interior of that paint for Golden State. Steve Kerr really stabilizes this team just from a mental, psychological standpoint because Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, they're not big talkers. They're not guys who are going to talk a lot. Draymond Green is going to talk a lot, but obviously Draymond, it can go left with Draymond at any given point in time. So Steve Kerr is really just the guy, behind the scenes who just connects everything together and makes sure the ship is sailing smooth. And for the Warriors to be as good as they've been for as long as they've been, you got to credit it to him for just keeping everything steady. I mean, this is a guy who was with Michael Jordan and the Bulls when they were winning all those championships. He's been around Greg Popovich. He's done everything in the NBA. I remember growing up watching NBA games where Steve Kerr was doing the commentating for the games, and then he was the GM for the Phoenix Suns. Like, he's had every possible job in the NBA, like on pretty much all levels. So kudos to Steve Kerr.
This was Klay's third career game with at least 50 points, 10 three-pointers, second most in NBA history behind only his fellow Splash brother Steph Curry's 7. It was the first time he did this since his record 14 threes in that game in 2018 against the Bulls. So the Warriors...
14 threes in a game, Klay Thompson, especially he had a great game last night, but prime Klay Thompson, when Klay Thompson was in his prime, I don't think people really realized what he was doing. He was guarding the other team's best player, usually a perimeter player, and we give Draymond a lot of credit for what he does as a help side defender, what he does down low, what he does as an anchor. We give Iguodala credit for having those quick hands and getting steals on Kevin Durant and Westbrook. We give Iguodala credit for staying in front of LeBron James and making his life as difficult as possible. But man, when you talk about defense, Klay Thompson, He used to follow the Kyrie Irvings and the Damian Lillards. Klay was the guy who we would put out on those guys, and we'd ask him to be on an island with those guys. Klay was just giving so much to this team on both ends as a major two-way player. And on the offensive side, he was getting 20 points, being highly efficient, just, seamlessly fitting in with other legendary players. It's very hard to seamlessly fit in with other great players. Kevin Durant was able to seamlessly fit in with Steph Curry and just get his 28 points quietly next to Steph Curry. Klay can seamlessly go and get 20 points, and I understand the Steph Curry ball movement and the gravity that he has makes it easier for other guys. But you have a lot of players who just, they don't quite get it, and their game doesn't really translate to being able to put up a bunch of points while still, being productive and leading to winning and translating to winning. And Klay Thompson, his game translates to winning. When Klay Thompson is clicking on all cylinders, you get winning results out of it. So it's just really nice to see Klay Thompson playing at this level, man. And I hope that this is just a sign of what's to come. And maybe this Warriors team could put on a couple games on the road, because right now they're dominating at home, but they're going to need to get Steph Curry and Wiggins back, and they're going to need to win some road games. You can't just win all your home games and lose all your road games. So, they got to figure that out at some point. I think they got a little bit of a mental block in front of them right now. Draymond Green alluded to it. Maybe it's the Poole thing. Maybe these guys just aren't as close as you would expect them to be when they're going out on the road. Who knows? Maybe they're a little cliquey. You never know. But hopefully, whatever it is, it starts translating to road games because you want to see good road games. You want to see this team compete on the road, win some road games. And even for the fans of the other teams, I mean, sure, they want the Warriors to lose and they want their team to spank the Warriors or whatever. But wouldn't you rather the Warriors playing Warrior basketball against your team and playing high level basketball and your team gets like a nice, like amazing win against that or something? Like, it's just better basketball. It's a better product. And they just got to clean up their act a little bit on the road. And I think they will. I think they're starting to turn. I don't think that this style of play is just only going to be at home. I think now that they're building good habits, it's going to translate. Dante DiVincenzo being on this team and just being the junkyard dog that he is, I think that's helped this team out a lot as well.
They're starting to click a little bit here, guys. 5 straight wins. What are you diagnosing
5 straight wins. I said 4 straight, but that's 5 straight now. Yep.
them with that's working without Steph?
I just think the whole question this season has been, Malika, what is our younger guy / bench going to give us? We know that our core has, Andre's been watching for the most part. Klay and Dre have been going. Steph's been out, but they know the core can't push them anymore, so they're going to need more from the bench. And I think they're starting to see who is what and what is going on. Moody and Kuminga have been playing better. DiVincenzo, I think, is going to pay off dividends to come playoff time. A guy like JaMychal Green is going to help. So I think it's been more about figuring out what our guys outside of our star 3 are going to give us, and I think they're starting to figure that out.
Right. I didn't have the Draymond Green hitting a huge three-pointer on my bingo card for last night's game, but yeah, I mean, Shanae, what?
I mean, Draymond Green is a clutch player. He definitely he's not a shooter. He can't shoot, but he's a clutch player. Like when you need Draymond to make that wide open 3 with the game on the line late in the game, Draymond makes those. And when you need him to make free throws late in the game, he could be 65, 75% for the season from the free throw line. But when you need him to make that big free throw, he's going to make both of them. So kudos to Draymond just for even shooting these shots. Like now he's starting to keep the defense a little honest. He went a lot of seasons in a row without even attempting to shoot threes and just, not being an offensive weapon at all. Like he puts no pressure. He was putting no pressure on the defense at all, just being like a complete, like just nothing on offense, giving you absolutely nothing. Guys were standing in the paint, giving him the Ben Simmons treatment. And it's just a good thing to see Draymond actually take those shots and make the defense pay a little bit because it helps his teammates out.
What are you looking at here?
I think this actually, without Steph, has been a blessing in disguise for the Warriors. Because if you think about Klay, he's getting more reps and finding
I would agree.
his rhythm quicker. If you think about Draymond, they've realized, hey, maybe it's not a guard that is our secondary facilitator when Steph is out. Maybe it's Draymond. And you see Draymond was commandeering. I don't know why I love using that word on this television show, but he was really the captain of their offense, and typically the beneficiary is Steph. But in this
That PBJ finish over there was nice. The one that they showed right before this one, it was nice. PBJ got a really smooth shot. I wasn't really sure that his game was going to translate too well to the NBA just because I thought that he was going to be a little bit too slow for NBA speed and he had these injuries and stuff like that. But PBJ, if he keeps shooting it the way that he's been shooting it, and I believe it because it's a smooth stroke, if he's shooting like that, teams are going to be all over him. All he has to do is the pump fake. He seems like a smart player. He's a coach's son, so swing the ball around, fit into the system, and he could be like a stretch 4. Because honestly, Matt Barnes named JaMychal Green earlier, and I think JaMychal Green just sucks. Like I think the JaMychal Green train has just kind of come to an end. I don't really see him being in the NBA much longer. He doesn't really have too much to offer anymore. He provides nothing defensively. He misses a lot of dunks and layups at the rim, even though he's supposed to be like a slasher, explosive kind of big. He doesn't really do that as much as you would like him to do. So I think if they could get PBJ some minutes, PBJ could really provide something for this team. Just as like a wing forward kind of guy who can shoot the ball and occasionally get to the cup. It just gives them another weapon. You can never complain about having more spacing.
this instance, he's getting everybody going. He's the engine. And so a lot of those questions of how they're going to try to transition without, Steph or without Klay, like what's the future looking like?
Right.
They're figuring it out together. And lastly, Klay, what a stretch it has been for him. During this win streak, he's averaged 34.5 points. He's shooting the three ball, 42% from three, 25 out of 60. Like, you have to show respect to Klay because a lot of people are quiet when he makes, but when he misses, people are very critical. And so this has been a good, like you said, personal stretch
I
for
think
him.
it's been a personal run for Klay because he's human. I mean, he's hearing everyone knock him, and it really, getting a chance to talk to him and interview him, it really hurt him. You know what I mean? So I think now that he's starting to feel more like himself day by day, he needs this. And like I said, the NBA is better.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest though, that a lot of the criticism about Klay was kind of warranted because people weren't saying that Klay sucks or like Klay was never a good player, but at least speaking for myself and what I saw other people saying, the complaint with Klay Thompson was that he was shot jacking and that he was forcing it. No one was saying Klay Thompson sucks or Klay Thompson just can't do this and that. I was saying Klay Thompson was the worst player in the NBA because Klay Thompson was shot jacking. I mean, he simply was. He was simply forcing it at all points in time. Kobe Bryant, his last season in the NBA, besides the 60-point game that he had to close it out, Kobe Bryant was the worst player in the NBA his last season in the league because he was nonstop shot jacking. And that's what it felt like with Klay Thompson during like the first 15, 20 games of this NBA season. That's really what it felt like. But now he's starting to catch a groove. He's playing the right way. He's playing the game that they need him to play. And when he's playing like that, nobody can say nothing to him because, this was the Klay Thompson that we used to say was the best two-way shooting guard in the NBA. Of course, he's not going to bring that defensively anymore. That's asking for too much for him to move like that. But when he's playing offense like this is that guy that we've come to love over the years, watching him just torch other teams for the Golden State Warriors.
When Klay is out there being happy, so we're happy for Klay.
Absolutely. He's kind of starting to find a rhythm, and you mentioned it with Draymond. That's part of the reason why Steve Kerr put him in with that second unit to try to
Yeah, and Draymond being with the second unit has been amazing for the Warriors. It's really set the tone for the second unit as far as keeping them in check. That second unit was getting out there and they just weren't playing Warriors basketball. Now with Draymond in there, he's keeping the flow. He's playing that point guard role, that point forward role for this team. And Draymond, to his credit, I've been harsh on Draymond sometimes, but Draymond's having a great year this year. And you knew contract Draymond with the money on the line, with potentially his future as a Golden State Warrior on the line. You knew that he was going to ball out when he needed to. This is a guy who will get heavy and put on extra weight and not really care and just be coasting. And then when the playoffs are coming around, he'll lose all that weight and step up and just start having great games. And you're like, whoa, where was this Draymond Green all season? But he's been there and done it before, so he knows when he needs to turn up and when he can kind of chill out a little bit.
Kind of get everybody going, and now we're seeing the fruits of that labor coming to fruition.
But anyways, congratulations to Klay Thompson for that 54-point performance. It was definitely nice to watch. It's always exciting when you see a guy who's just dealt with so much adversity and he's able to figure it out and just get back to who he is. So kudos to Klay Thompson. Way to step up. This Warriors team, it's always fun watching the Warriors, man. And we'll see after this homestand. They only got a couple more games left. We'll see how they close it out. The schedule is not too hard. They're going up against like Detroit and Orlando. We'll see how that goes. We'll see if they're able to take this momentum and go onto the road and win some road games. So it'll be interesting to see. Of course, Andrew Wiggins is coming back soon. Steph Curry will be back within like the next month or so. So definitely something to keep our eyes on. As always, thanks for watching, guys. Peace.